Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Monday Night Muse. I'm your host, Sound Engraver. I hope you are doing well. I'm going to go ahead and check audio before we get started. I think everything is fine. We're going to be talking about marketing today. We'll see how that goes. And I would love your input on this too. My mic stand is a little precarious. It's kind of wobbly. It's used, so I've been adjusting this a little bit. So hopefully you can hear me. Let me go ahead and see the YouTube video. And my YouTube is really freaking out. So is everything okay on your end? My YouTube just kept blinking. So I'm going to have to reload YouTube. I'm off YouTube completely right now. And I couldn't hear myself at the same time. So if you guys want to confirm in the chat that you can hear me all right, that would be great. And I'll go ahead and reload my YouTube video. Looks like I'm live. That's great. 8 watching. That's also good. Let's see. Okay, everything's fine. Okay, good. I don't know what's wrong with my video on my end, but it just keeps flashing and going black and flashing and going black. And it could be buffering. We have had storms. We might have some spotty internet tonight, but we should be good if you guys can hear me. All right, that's good. And yeah, sounds like my mic is on just fine. Okay, so Schooner Tuna, Wolf 10, Big Al, and Evie's in the house. That's cool. All right, let's go ahead and welcome the chat. And we'll get started with some welcoming the chat and also some channel update things. Channel updates, that's what I meant to say. And then we'll talk about marketing because I think it's really an important topic to talk about, especially if you are an independent artist. And so let's go ahead and welcome Big Al Presents. Marketing is very important. And I would say, Big Al, you have a really good ear for marketing and also good eye for marketing. You've generated some very, very good ideas that companies haven't, like, candy makers and things like candy packaging or some sort of wrapping or some sort of presentation. You're also good with slogans. And I think you like alliteration, so that also helps. But yes, I agree. Marketing is very important. Professor Geek, my dear. Actually, before I even have his comment, look, speaking of marketing, there is the Professor Geek shirt. It feels great. It's a nice feel. Let me just back this mic just a little bit. It's a great feel. It has this kind of it's like a white lettering, but it's kind of gray. It's got this cool sci-fi look to it. At least I think it has that cool sci-fi, a little bit new, a little bit edgy look to it. So I'm proud to wear it. I'm gonna try to sit up straight if my chair stops sinking, but my chair is sinking. Okay. Anyway, but you can see that I am honoring Professor Geek with that shirt. And speaking of my Professor Geek, he says, hello, my dear Sound Engraver. Great topic. Great creators need to stop telling or even asking people to consume their art. They must market it. If they don't know how, they need to learn. Then they need to learn. That is correct. I had a lovely weekend with the prof as well. I wanted to mention that. Very sad to see him go earlier today, but that's all right. And if I sound sleepy or if I am sleepy, it's because I had a great, wonderful weekend. It was a really nice weekend. We'll talk about that too. A lot of good stuff. Daniel Heron. Oh, wait. I think I skipped Horizon Talker. Hello, Horizon Talker. Good to see you. Daniel Heron says, Sound Engraver. I got Eric Woods coming on my show Wednesday night. He does a show for the Canadian Broadcasting Company on film scores, discussing Saving Private Ryan. That's awesome. Good for you. That's pretty cool. I love that you're in the know for some movie soundtracks. That's fantastic. And ZW, welcome. Nice to see you. And I'm trusting that audio is good because I have no reference with YouTube. I always get sad that, sometimes, and you're totally right to say this, when you say, I hear you, and I stream without my mic being on, so, it's not hooked up properly to my interface, and then you kind of get that canned reverb sound in the room. So hopefully Hopefully I have my normal audio output out there, but I think I do. All right. We've got to welcome Samuel Proctor. The storms have passed in my area, but I don't hold my breath. Weather can change on a dime. Yeah, especially in the South. That is for sure. My almost 8 years living in the South, and I have learned that for sure. But also in the Midwest. I lived in the Midwest too, and it's the same there. I think what remains consistent as far as weather is concerned is someplace like Washington or Idaho. Yes, it is. Very Star Trek feeling font. It is. Well, that's good. Man, people piled in fast. There were 3 people when I dropped in. Well, hopefully more people will drop in, depending on the time. And oh boy, he's got his name on you now. Thank you, Dr. Y, for that. I appreciate that. It is true. Marketing. We're going to talk about supporting artists or endorsing, professionally endorsing artists, but it's really important. You're also going to find me adjusting my headphones because it's summer and these headphones get really hot. I'm a naturally cold person, but these headphones get really, really warm. All right. Okay, I think I have everyone, or I welcomed everyone. Evie says, I really don't know anything about marketing at all. Well, hopefully I give you some tips. Hopefully I give you some tips. Old Indiana proverb, don't like the weather? Wait 10 minutes. Weather in the South, if you don't like it, just wait a little while. Unless it's summer. Yeah. It's been a very, very tame spring over here on the East Coast, at least on the southern part of the East Coast, or mid. I'm kind of southern mid. I'm not southern. So I've been really grateful about that. Alrighty. So before we begin, let's talk about some channel news. What is on the dock for this summer? Let me just take a drink of water first. Hello, Travis. Nice to see you. I welcome you. Thank you. So some channel updates. So really, it's kind of a life update, and I won't go into the details because it's just kind of unpacking it as it is, just with me doing some personal planning. But this summer is going to be a pretty hefty summer in my schedule. The first thing is I am adding new students to my schedule, but also I will be relocating twice in one summer. I will be getting out of here, and this will be the second to the last time you see me in this room, but I will be very much moving on out. I'll still be in the area, but I'll be moving on out end of June. And then at the end of summer, it'll be a big transition for me, all for the best, as you guys might know if you guys are a part of the Professor Geek community. It's pretty sweet, but I will be relocating 2 times in under 3 months. With the teaching schedule, I will be pretty much 2 or 3 times busier than I usually am, and I still want to keep up on my projects. I want to keep up with my personal project, like producing albums. I would at least like to do my 4-track album, at least one 8-track album. I have 2. That's 3. I have 2 on the dock, but I have 2 albums plus half an album and maybe a single track. So I still want to be quite productive even in my busyness. And also I have taken on a new class I'm going to be teaching. I'm going to be teaching it online, and I'm also going to be teaching it in person in an actual lab. And that is the basics in Logic Pro, which I'm very excited about, but I have offered them my Monday and Friday evenings. So I will be teaching online Logic Pro from 7:30 to 9 or 9:30, depending. And by that point, I'll be just totally done with even speaking. So there wouldn't be any time to stream Monday nights. And this is happening for 8 weeks. And then I'm also teaching Friday evenings from 7 to 8:30, I think it is. Then commuting and hopefully coming back in time to see Fan Man and his streaming. And of course, the prof with his Friday night streams. So I've taken on a class, and I know Logic Pro. I compose with Logic Pro. I've produced music with Logic Pro. I know the animal in terms of DAW is concerned, but I've never taught it. So it's just not only teaching a class, but it's teaching on something I haven't done before. So it's going to be a pretty big endeavor, I think, hopefully for the better. I would love this to be a lucrative thing, where I would teach something like this online, in the future. So I'm going to take on this opportunity. It's an 8-week class. It's going to start on the first Monday of June the 7th, I think it is. And there's going to be a little bit of a summer break in that studio. So I'm going to be off a week, and then it's going to be another 4 weeks of teaching that class. So with all that said, with the idea of relocating twice in 3 months, having more students, commuting more, and teaching a new class beginning June, I will actually have to stop streaming Monday nights. Now, this is actually going to be a little bit longer than I anticipated, and I think it's for the best for now. But I will also be, my goal, I'm like 98% sure that this is happening. I will be traveling pretty extensively in September, maybe for the whole month of September. So after a big transition, I'm also going to be taking time and traveling, because my sister is expecting her first child this August. And I want to be there, after she's settled down with her new baby, my niece. Man, it's weird to say. I'm in my 30s and I've never had a niece or nephew before, so that's kind of cool. I will be seeing her hopefully for the month of September. So really, things are not going to settle down until October. So I most likely will not be streaming until October, really until the fall. So tonight is the second to the last stream. Monday night, Memorial Day, that will be my final stream for a while. If I do stream, it'd be something like if I had time on a Saturday afternoon and I had something to talk about. But I wouldn't expect it. It would be a very special occasion. And I love streaming. Don't get me wrong. I'm actually kind of sad I can't be streaming for this length of time, because I really do enjoy it. Now, Prof and I were talking about this, and I think he experiences it a little bit too. But we actually enjoy streaming to the point where we could be, well, at least I'm not going to speak for him, but I could be a little careless in that I would prioritize my streaming and my YouTube channel at the expense of my actual job, like teaching, meaning things I should be doing for my students, like getting them extra curriculum, updating notes or something like that. I don't, because I want to focus on streaming because it's more enjoyable, to be honest. The admin stuff for teaching is, I wouldn't prefer it. So I actually enjoy streaming in a way too much. Meaning, I really prioritize. I put it first, my schedule if I can, if I have the opportunity. Now that I don't have that opportunity, I will just say, you know what, we'll take a break for the summer, and then we'll get back really into the swing of things in October. Yeah, that's a big chunk. That's like 4 months. That is 4 months. But my channel is not going away. I'm still doing my sound experimentation videos every Thursday. That's going to stay. And I would like to use this time also to kind of cushion and pad that summer down with some fixed commentary videos. One thing is most certainly happening is my Super Nintendo soundtrack series, where I'm going through Donkey Kong Country. So I've done an intro video and 3 videos. I'm going to be on part 4. I think that video, that series is going to have probably 5 videos, 5 parts in that series. Then I'm going to move to Donkey Kong Country 2 with Diddy's Kong Quest, and then Dixie's Double Trouble, which is part 3. And I love that. And then I'll kind of, the more retro box I play with the prof, the more I'll be analyzing these awesome Super Nintendo game soundtracks. So I'm looking forward to that. So that's definitely coming this summer. Also, I will be hopefully give or take maybe 3 to 4 videos, I will try to continue with that hero theme series where I talk about music and music themes. I may even have a fixed commentary video on someone like Hans Zimmer and maybe some misconceptions that people might have of him in his I would say impression or status as a composer. Not as in any disparaging thing there, but there are, people compare him to John Williams, and they're really two very different people, and I think people should understand that distinction. So some random topics that are on my mind that I think are important, like commentary on film composers or actual themes. Also, I would like to do this. I will kick myself if I don't do this. That is composing, or how to compose a music theme for Batman and Wonder Woman, because Wonder Woman doesn't have a theme. So I'd like to pad the summer with some musical ideas. I'm also going to be actually probably this week, yeah. I'm pretty much sure. I'm actually going to be in honor of Dave Filoni's promotion. I'm going to be slicing some of my Siege of Mandalore commentary and being a little cheeky, lovingly cheeky, if that makes sense. So you'll get probably some more Siege of Mandalore content, but it's going to be content you've already heard before if you've been with me on the live streams. These videos will be much more condensed, much more topical, between 5 and 8 minutes. So hopefully that'll be kind of fun. So that is the channel news there. And we will get to the topic of marketing, I promise. But let's go ahead and also, I want to check the YouTube video real quick. Oh, my goodness. So YouTube said that there's no playback. Can you guys hear me okay? Like it cut out. We had that mysterious YouTube error. Maybe this is a good time to lay low on the streaming. But let's go ahead and we'll take a look at the chat. But before I do that, I do want to post one thing. I forgot to post this on the Facebook group, but I would like to not compose. I would like to copy the wonderful opportunity that was yesterday. And that was me having a bit of a session with the composer, David Wise, composer of the Donkey Kong Country series, at least games 1 and 2. And I actually was selected out of 8 composers, was selected to talk to him or him providing critique and feedback on music, which I was very grateful for. And so let me go ahead and post that video. I should probably include that in the description as well. And yeah, it was really fun. It was just an absolute blast to have an icon, just kind of listen to the music that I produced and then have that feedback. And very nice, well-spoken man. He has an incredible amount of insight. Actually, he was talking to other composers too. He was talking to 7 other composers. I think I'm composer number 6 in the video. And, the stuff he was saying to them, and he was saying it to me too. I was thinking, that's him. That he said this about percussion. He said this about instrumentation. He said this about a sound effect. And I was like, yes, that's his soundtrack. It's so cool. So it was just an amazing opportunity to actually talk with an iconic video game composer like Mr. Wise. And yeah, so actually, I'll give you a timestamp. I actually did look at this because I wanted to tell my sister this. I'm pretty much the 46 to 56 mark as far as screen time with David Wise. So, I mean, by all means, take a look at the other people and their music and his critique on their music as well. But that was that was so fun. And it was only an hour. It was about an hour and 10-minute stream, and it felt like an eternity because we didn't know what order we were in, the composers. So we're just kind of sitting in the chair. And then when Daniel, the host of it all, says, and we're going to listen to name drop here, that's when you knew. So you had to kind of be on your toes with that. And fortunately, I have live streaming experience, so I wasn't actually too nervous because I'm used to speaking through a microphone online anyway. So, Prof, thank you. She did amazing. David Wise was impressed with her. He's very I wouldn't say he's reserved, but he has more of a quieter persona. So you really can't. I mean, I've never really seen him talk too much, but it could be quite difficult to see, if he's not really liking your stuff, but he's very kind about it. So we'll see. But yeah, it was just an absolute honor. So I had that hour stream yesterday. So that was yesterday. And so I will post that also on the Facebook group if you guys wanted to see that as well. All right, we'll get into the chat just a little bit. We're already in the 20-minute mark, so I do want to talk about marketing too. But let's go ahead and just, I kind of want to engage with you too on what you guys were saying about my channel update. We could go a little longer if we have to, and then I'll put a timestamp on when I talk about the topic. Wolf10 says, funny, I'm not saddened by your departure. Very excited and happy for you, Sound. Good luck and be safe out there. Prof, you got all this written down? Yep, probably. Yeah, so it's great. And I'll be back because I do enjoy streaming. Might not be Monday nights anymore, depending on my depending on my new schedule. But it will be frequent. That I could pretty much guarantee because I love it so much. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Big Al, too. Lots of relocation for you, too, man. If all stars align, I will finally move on Wednesday. I hope so. I've been praying about your transition, and also I hope. I'll keep praying. Please let us know when we see you next on the stream. Horizon Talker says, "Got to set your priorities, Sound Engraver. If you're not making it the main thing, then definitely be willing to cut it for what really matters." Yeah, what really matters actually is more temporary. It's just relocating and moving, and it's actually a huge career adjustment too. One thing I want to mention too is I really hope, and if you guys are the praying type, that would be awesome. I would really like to make a career shift as well, and really focus on violin performance and really performing more. It's just, yeah. I remember one of my studio owners. He's a really great guy, Rob. There was one time I was practicing between lessons, and he said, "Yeah, I just hear you. I hear you in that room practicing, and you really need to be performing." And I really thank him for that. I need to. It's getting to be that restlessness. Like I can't be stalling on performing. I would, now that a lot of things have been loosening up in terms of mandates and regulations. So I would really like to play. Come on, the beautiful state of, Virginia. A lot of historical places. I play classical music, and I could play old folk music, and I could play colonial music. I mean, I've got stuff. I've got stuff under my belt. All right. Actually, we'll definitely get to this Horizon Talker. I don't want to get too off topic, but maybe I should just take my time. Horizon Talker says, no offense to Hans Zimmer, but John Williams is the great movie soundtrack composer. Not sure it's fair to compare anyone to him. Not today. There's reason for that. There's a reason for that. But I'll save it for a commentary video, and maybe we'll talk about it on a live stream someday. All right. Yes, good. I'm still on the air. That's good. I don't know why YouTube won't let me see my own video. It's weird. Samuel Proctor says, in honor of Dave Filoni's promotion, I'll slice up and re-upload The Siege of Mandalore. Wahahaha. Now people could argue and say, well, Michelle, he's the executive creative director or an executive creative director. He's not going to be writing. Well, his writing showed a lot. Let's just say that. Good. Guys keep saying that it sounds good. I'm still here and all that. Okay, let me try to catch up. but I will say, I should have waited till later. Zimmer like Williams? No, by far no. That's like comparing a favorite slice of cake to a favorite slice of pie. They are two different things. Yeah, they are. They're both composers and they're good composers by their own right, but they are different. Okay. Speaking of marketing, you must market. You can grow the best tomatoes, but if you only sell them from your front yard, no one will know they are there. Absolutely. Let's actually talk about that. Let's talk about it. And, of course, the stream length, well, we're kind of almost into the 25 minute mark. I'm sorry. My chair just is so misbehaving. It keeps sinking. Let's talk about marketing. So everything that I say really is from my experience with musicians and composers and independent artists. But I think what I'm learning from this can be applied to all independent artists. So let's go ahead and pull up my notes and let's see where it is. There it is. All right. Something I've been thinking about just for a while now, and I've wanted to talk about it on my stream. Where artists go wrong about marketing. So what brought this to my attention, really started having me kind of ruminate over this, was actually a couple of Twitter trends that I had been seeing in the past. And I actually, to be fair, I don't see this as much. Maybe I'm just not involving myself with Twitter as much these days. Maybe I'm just not as active. So I'm sure it's still around. But these trends that I see artists do, or really composers of the electronic music, but I'm sure different artists like writers do the same thing here. And this trend is, you gotta support these artists. Show these artists your love. Show them love. So how do they do this? They do this a couple ways. The first way is tagging multiple artists in one tweet. I don't know if you've seen this, and maybe you guys do this too. And I'm not faulting anyone really. In fact, there's someone I do respect who does this, and I don't mind when he does this and attaches my Twitter handle to his tweets. I think it's fine. But just tagging multiple artists in one tweet really makes the tweet look a little aggressive and emphatic, and also it's pretty crowded. It looks a little it kind of clutters up the page. It doesn't look that professional. One reason is it gives me the impression that I have to look up all these people. I have to research and kind of do some digging to see if these artists are artists I would support or artists I would ignore. That extra effort that person unwittingly, I don't think they know that they're doing this, but it's kind of signaling like, hey, you got to be involved with these people. You got to know what they're about. You gotta like their stuff. You got to share their stuff. You got to support their stuff. And these will be, between 15 and 20 people if it's enough names in the character limits, within the character limits. I think it's 240 characters. And Twitter, please don't exceed 240. Please, I just ask, I beg you, don't go the Facebook route, please. But anyway, in all, silliness aside, I would just say that it just looks, it looks hard on the eyes, and it looks like you're demanding artists to really support people you don't even know. Now, a few times my Twitter handle has been in these chains, and actually there was one time where it involved people I just professionally would have preferred not to be associated with, and there was one time where it's either with people you don't want to professionally associate with, or they associate you by labeling you someone you're not. So it came to the point where I privately and politely reproached someone. I said, hey, listen, thanks for including me, but I actually don't see myself as this. And he was fine. He was really kind about it. And I don't know if he took my name off the tweet. Oh, and I have to sneeze and the mute button. 1 second. Wait. Okay, false alarm. Where are my notes? Okay, that was great. So anyway, I was talking about, what was I talking about? I was talking about the person. He was really kind to get back to me. Yeah, this person was really kind to get back to me and say, oh, I'm sorry. So I think he removed the tweet, or maybe removed my name and posted a new tweet. And I appreciated that. But it was just something that I would say people don't mean harm by it, but it's acting a little presumptuously, like, I've got 20 artists here and all of you guys go support them, show them your love and all of that. And I would just say it looks a little desperate. It looks a little cluttered on your social media feed. And I would say the only way I would do that is if everyone knew each other, which might not be effective anyway. So that's the first thing, is this tagging multiple artists in one tweet and constantly retweeting, just not even thinking about it. Retweeting like it's an afterthought. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna retweet this. I'm gonna retweet this, and it just looks. I would say it isn't effective, and it looks like you don't really mean to support those artists. So that's the first thing, tagging multiple artists. The second way they kind of really, espouse, hey, you got to support these guys, is either encouraging or demanding that you share their music. So if you're not going to buy their album, or if you're not going to buy their single track or support their music video, they're like, we got to share this to the world, guys. We got to retweet this. We got to like this. You got to comment this. And it's kind of this crazed, feeling. It's like, and I would say no. It's this weird idea that artists are obliged to support other artists, and especially independent artists. Excuse me, my voice is a little dry. My throat is dry. There is stuff in the pine trees today. It's been thunderstorms and rain and pine, so my voice might be going. I hope it doesn't go too early because I have stuff to talk about. But anyway, there's this idea that independent artists are obliged to support other independent artists simply because you're an artist yourself and you're in the same boat. But that's not really any motive for me to support anyone. It's this weird thing where you have to be zealous for other artists. And I'd like to say emphatically and empathetically. It's like, no, you're an artist, therefore you should support other artists so they support you. And it's kind of like there was this old thing, I don't know if it's happening now, but this older thing on YouTube where it's like, sub for sub, you subscribe to me, I subscribe to you. It's like that's just a cheap transaction. If I subscribe to you because you subscribe to me, well, what if I don't watch that kind of content on YouTube? What if I'm not interested in your kind of personality? What if I'm not into the topics you're talking about? Don't subscribe to me if you're not interested in electronic music or commentary on popular art like Star Wars. I wouldn't want you to feel obliged. But this kind of zeal that artists are asking other artists, as if they're trying to compensate for something else. And I think it is a kind of compensation. It's like, well, I'm not going to put my products out or the effort out because that's just a lot of effort and a lot of time and a lot of investment. So rather than that, let's just try this, kind of chain reaction that actually, based on what I've seen as an artist on Twitter, just goes nowhere. It doesn't go anywhere. So this idea of demanding other artists to support your work, or they demand you to support their work, just emphatically, emphatically, I meant to say, it's just kind of, it just doesn't work. It doesn't look right. I would go so far as to say it's bad form to do that. So this brings me to the conclusion, or the misconception, that, well, I would say the misconception is artists expect artists to support them, expecting artists to support you. Now, the truth is, success comes from your product and your diligence in marketing that product. Yes, artists can support you. I'm not saying they can't. I'm not even saying that their support means nothing or it's ineffective, but this kind of cheap transaction of, oh, you scratch your back, or what's the phrase? I scratch your back, you scratch mine. That kind of cheap, really primitive transaction. It doesn't work, and I think people see it. So the misconception is expecting artists to support you just because you're an artist. And the truth is, your artistic success will really come from your product and your diligence in promoting your product, marketing your product. So that's actually what I got, that this kind of behavior I've seen among independent artists, based on these trends on Twitter. Now, I don't see this as much anymore, but I know it's out there. So how do we do this? How do we market ourselves? Well, the first thing, and this is the thing I will always stress on my channel, prolific creation. Being prolific as an artist. Be prolific in professionally producing your art. Now, people might, put a stop sign up and say, wait a second, I'm not there yet. I'm not a professional. I want to be. I would love to be a professional in my art, or be a professional in my specialty. I would love to actually have this as a profession. I would love to even make some supplemental income with my art, but I'm not there in terms of skill, in terms of experience. I'm not there. Maybe it's not even skills or experience. Maybe it's the money. Maybe you do not have what you need to get what you want out there. So let's say you aren't quite the professional yet. Well, you could still be prolific. If you're not producing professionally, there are other things to consider. And I would say seriously consider this. I would say please seriously, speaking from my heart, speaking from experience, please seriously consider this. You can be prolific by providing commentary on your art, on your learning process, producing videos for a channel, producing content for a blog or a website, getting something out there and out there frequently for people to refer to. Frequency is everything. And I mean everything. I say this to my students all the time. You apply yourself. I even said this to one student today. I could tell she practiced. I told her to do it too, and she did it. I was really proud of her. I should have told her I was more proud than I mean, she saw how proud I was, but I should have just been kind of over the top with how proud I was. I told her, you need to practice 5 times more than you do. This was last week when I told her. She did, and man, her playing improved. Oh my goodness. Frequency improves everything. Now, frequency is important when it comes to prolific creation. If people are turning to your blogs on a frequent basis, maybe a daily basis or weekly basis, maybe a professional website, I would say the safest, really, guys, it's free. It's free. The safest bet, really, for now to garner an audience is a YouTube channel, and producing commentary videos on the learning process. This helps you. This is beneficial in a couple of ways. It helps you practice speaking in public, even if it's on the online space. It helps you practice speaking. It helps your speaking skills, and also it helps you practice either entertaining or educating people about your art or art in general. Artists you aspire to be or study, genres that you like to work in, fictional pieces or art pieces or masterpieces that have really inspired you. Educate people or even find your voice. Like maybe you are an entertaining person. Now you don't have to be an entertainer. You don't have to be an entertainer, but if you have a natural personality or that could really fit, like, kind of a radio personality, like we see with Fan Man, for instance, that kind of practice really will help. It'll really, polish your personality, on the online public square. So there really is, while you're working to becoming a professional, you're already garnering an audience with your commentary videos. So that's one way of being prolific. So if you're not prolific in that you're producing art professionally, like, I'm producing albums or single tracks or music in general, be prolific in your commentary. Be prolific with providing value, insight, education, or entertainment to an audience. And it's an open book, man. Not an open book. That's the wrong phrase. It's just an ocean of people out there that really can pick it up. And I will say this to you guys. I don't suppose there are any. I'm just gonna say it. Kaiju fans out there. You know how easy you guys have it for getting a YouTube audience? I am so niche. I'm SuperCollider and Logic Pro, okay? So I'm thankful for the subscribers that I have, but it has been just a steady incline. With something like anime or kaiju, rather than post recommendations on certain chats, you guys should talk about it on your own channels. And I'm saying this like quite emphatically, if you will, because you guys already have an audience at your fingertips. Like, you guys, I don't know if you know how lucky you are with your kind of content. If you started, let's say your YouTube channel is about your favorite anime illustrators or just anime shows in general, and what inspires you about those. And then 2, 3, 4, 5, even 10 years down the road, you produce a comic. By that time, you would produce and release a professional comic. You would probably have thousands of buyers. I am being so honest with you guys. So it's very, very important, very, very important to produce prolifically something like commentary. And I would actually say start with video. I would say start with video before the written word, the text, like a blog or something. I would say something like a blog would be supplemental, or it would be an add-on. I guess you could make the two of them equal depending on your workflow. But I think video is going to be the way to go for that. And I wanted to actually, tell you too, it's something I just remembered. I started my channel. Really, the original goal for my channel was to show people how I composed music, because I was always so curious to see how my favorite artists would compose their music, what kind of software they worked with, what kind of sounds they worked with, what kind of techniques in the mixing stage, with EQ and reverb and bypassing effects or different things like that. But I never got to see that. And I love their albums. I love enjoying their albums. And I remember seeing Solar Fields have kind of a professional video on. It was his music and it was in his studio, but it was already tracks of sounds that he had already pretty much stamped on in this project. And I'm like, well, how did he get those sounds? I was always curious about that. So I thought, well, I might not see it myself, for composers that I really do like, but why don't, I'm learning SuperCollider. I'll post videos on my learning process and showing people how I'm working with granular synthesis and FM and synth defs and sine tones and all that stuff. So that was really the impetus of my channel, showing people exactly what I do in SuperCollider and Logic Pro. And that generated to more than just that. It generated to producing my original music, and then ultimately, commentary on things like art in general, because art is part of the process. You should have an understanding of art, the history of art, the philosophy of different art and genre, what we've seen in history, what we trends that we've seen, and this includes popular art as well. And so yeah, now I've kind of blossomed my channel into talking about art commentary. I mean, Star Wars. I mean, people might come on my channel like SuperCollider and Star Wars. Well, one, I like Star Wars, and it's my channel. I can talk about whatever I want. And people say, no, you gotta be niche. You gotta focus on one thing. But it's like, actually, Star Wars, or talking about Star Wars and writing and creativity and artistic endeavor that are involved in Star Wars, that's really important for a composer to know. That's really important for a musician to know. And so it's kind of branched out to that as well. So until you get to the point where you produce professionally, be prolific in your commentary. Be prolific in your commentary. Now, I would say in addition to that, I would say start building avenues where people can refer to your art. I would say really home in on 2 to 3 social platforms and concentrate all your marketing energy on that. I have 2 social platforms, that is YouTube and Twitter, but I also have Bandcamp for people to check out my music. And I'm also working steadily more and more on my professional website. So that's 2 social platforms. Oh, and I also have SoundCloud too. So 2 social platforms, 2 music platforms. That's very easy to maintain, and also my website. So people have up to 5 places to contact me. Really, they can contact me 5 different locations, 5 different avenues. So as you're working to becoming a professional, an actual professional in your art, provide prolific commentary, in the way of videos on YouTube, for instance, and also start building avenues so people can actually see where to go to when they want your art. You really have to be active in showing where you are on the online square, on the online public square. And I would say, even guys, I know people kind of ask different people, maybe people like Professor Geek, or maybe other channels you really like, and you want to be on as a guest. But I didn't consider this until yesterday. I was taking a walk and I thought, you know what, guys, I actually really wouldn't recommend you guys ask someone like Professor Geek to be a guest on your on his show for that kind of audience if you do not have a place where people can go to. If you don't have a website, really, or a YouTube channel, where you're actually kind of misleading people. Not misleading in a deceptive way, because I didn't know until like yesterday. But it's like, oh yeah, check out my art. I don't have anything anywhere, and Facebook's not going to cut it, guys. It's something, but no, like, oh, I've got my art, but I've also got my channel. I've got a website. I've got what else is a good place? A channel and a website is pretty much where you should go. So maybe even consider, well, if I get on a show on a channel that I like, where can I direct people? Oh, I can't. So really, guys, take this as an opportunity before you are a professional. I'm speaking from my heart, speaking from experience. I'm still in the know. I'm not in the know, like knowing networking and a lot of people, but just from experience and the constant practice, I'm thinking, whoa, okay, here's my channel, but here's other places you can find my music as well. Wow, that was a rant. I wasn't expecting to go off on that with these notes. So prolific creation. that is the first thing really to seriously consider when marketing your art. Now, this isn't really just to you guys who are independent artists or wanting to become professionals. This is really for anyone on Twitter, that I follow, seeing the stream perchance. Yeah, that's you just got to be prolific. For composers who do not do more than one album every few years, you're going to be forgotten. One reason why some artists, and sometimes I forget them for several years, and then I'm like, oh, I haven't listened to them. And then I'll check out their Spotify or I'll check out their website, and they've produced like 20 albums in 3 years, and they have an audience. Why? Because that audience can trust that they are going to get an album pretty quickly. And I want to be at that point where I can flesh out an album like, once a month. That would be so awesome. That's a goal. That's a goal that I would have. So that's really important to be prolific and have that prolific creation mindset. But there's more. There's more. Let me take a drink of water. Professional endorsements. Okay. Professional endorsements. I kind of want to do a whole separate stream or video on just this, but I'll be brief, maybe. Again, everything I say, I want to speak from a professional or a professionally minded person to another professional or professionally minded person. This is not for the hobbyist. There's nothing wrong with being a hobbyist. This is not for the amateur. There is absolutely nothing wrong with being an amateur, but really do know what you want. But this is from, speaking from a professional musician, and, I make money. It's chump change, but I do make money on my music. Speaking from a professional to another professional, talking about endorsements and professional endorsements. Be selective on what you endorse, who you follow, and what you put out on social media. So let's talk first about endorsing. Endorse only what you believe is good and what you like. Now, people, this could be a gray area. I would say this is a gray area. I endorse artists that I like, but that I also think are good, that they produce objectively good music, objectively good art. It doesn't matter if they're famous. It doesn't matter if they have 300,000 subscribers or followers. It doesn't matter if they have 2 subscribers or followers. If their art is good and I like it and I go to it and I constantly look at it or listen to it, I'm going to endorse them. And any artist, I'm not a big shot, but any artist who sees my endorsement, just know from my heart, I think it's good and I like it. Now there's art that I think is good that I don't prefer, and I don't endorse it. But you might do one or the other. You might like someone's art and maybe not think it's good, but you still want to, share it or retweet it or put it on a video. That's fine, and that's your call. I'm not saying you have to do both, but that's actually the limit I put on my own Twitter feed and also my YouTube channel and any other platform that I choose to do in the future. So I've been deliberate with that ever since I've started Twitter. I started Twitter about 7 years ago. And actually, before even following people, I made the deliberate decision to not follow my friends or family on Twitter and only follow professionals. And what's even more, and I got better at Twitter as I went, but I started following professionals that only talked about their product or their art. Yeah, I mean, someone could post a political thing, but if someone, I don't care how much I love their art, if someone ceases to talk about their art on Twitter and only talks about politics, I don't care if I'm 100% in agreement with you. You're not talking about your art anymore, so I'm probably going to unfollow you. It's kind of sad. But that's how strongly I feel. That's the deliberate decision I made on Twitter. And people complain about Twitter because it's like, it's a cesspool. It's awful. It's like, not if you do it right. Not if you do it right. It's not if you're very deliberate on Twitter. Not if you're very intentional on Twitter, it's not a bad thing if you are absolutely laser focused on keeping Twitter as part of your business. So every retweet or post or like or share of an artist, I do it because I authentically think it's good. I sincerely think it's good, and I sincerely like it. And I do a little bit more than that. For every album or track or art piece that I like, I give people a good reason why I like that art, why I like that project. And I try to write that well. I try to write it with good text, with a good sentence structure, with a good flow, just so it's easy to read, and so people can latch onto, oh, okay, so she sees this in this piece of art. I may check it out. I might not check it out, but just to really give that person, whether they, again, have over 100,000 followers or just 1 or 2 followers, if their stuff is good and I like it, I'm going to give the reason why I like it. So that's on endorsement. I said, follow or be selective on what you endorse, but also be selective on who you follow. I've come to learn that it would be beneficial for me to follow a selective group of people. So what do I mean by that? Well, follow who you think makes you look good. That actually sounds a little cheap. I didn't mean to have it come out that way. I should have just read my notes. I was trying to improvise and not read my notes verbatim, but here are my notes. Follow who you think makes you look like the artist you want to look like, makes you look like the artist you want to be. So this really is, it could be kind of a tandem between professional and artist, but let's say you follow someone, and I kind of already touched on this idea where they don't post anything about their art. And what if they have really good art? Or what if it's like maybe it's a sound designer or composer for like an indie game developer, and maybe they cease posting beautiful animation or beautiful art on the game that they're composing for, and they just start talking social issues and politics. It's like, I kind of followed you for seeing what you're doing on your indie game development. I want to see beautiful animation. I want to see your art. I want to see your works in progress. What music are you generating for this game? What sound design are you generating for this game? That's the stuff I want to see. See, why I see this a lot. Why do people have the Twitter description next to their name? It's like, oh, I say I'm an ardent maker of electronic music. And what do I post on my content, my feed? Electronic music. It's like, I am this, I am that, I am this professional, I am that, specialist. And then all their Twitter feed is just like nothing but mudslinging for the next governor election or whatever. It's like, I want to learn about your specialty. Like, I'm not making this up. I was really so much into sound design and ear health. When I first started Twitter, I lost interest, and I'm not saying I wouldn't pick up the interest again. But when I first started Twitter, I was following people, audiologists and people who specialize in ear health, because I really value ear health very, very much, ear health, brain health. And people, I followed people who worked in, tinnitus treatment, people who have ringing in their ears. And, when I follow them, I expect to be in the know about that kind of news, about that kind of treatment. And I lost interest, so I stopped following those people. But that was just because I had lost interest. But it's like, yeah, why do I need to know about your politics and who you're voting for and what you believe to be important? That's not, tinnitus. I'm not saying you have to be completely squeaky clean on that. Like, everything you post has to do with your specialty. But I would say your feed should be predominantly that. I go for seeing your art. I go for seeing your specialty. And so if people just spout out something that's not artistically related or sprout out garbage. I mean, I see some, I've had to unfollow people because it's just the vile language that they use, or the being sardonic or cynical. I mean, even if I like their art, if they are so cynical about the world and just want to bite at other people, I don't care how good your art is. It's harsh, but I don't want to be associated with people who have a cynical perspective on life, even if their art is good. And so if there's that chance that other people see me with a cynic, like a chronic cynic, then that's that risk. I want to give you this impression because it's who I am. I'm pretty upbeat. I love composing electronic music, both upbeat and eclectic and maybe experimental. And I'm not a cynic. I don't have a cynical view of the world. So follow people you think make you look good, but not just look good. They make you look like the artist you want to be. I think that's actually a pretty decent step to take when it comes to things like Twitter, because you really have to be selective with Twitter. You have to be intentional with Twitter. So that's being selective of who you follow. And if you guys have any input on that and want to, bounce some ideas back and forth, that'd be great. So be selective on what you endorse. Be selective on who you follow. And I'm talking about Twitter, but I'm really talking about just the social medium or social media. The medium is singular. And then also just what you put out on social media. Put out things that benefit you professionally. One thing is that's so vital is don't spam. Don't spam. I've heard some entrepreneurs say, you got to just blow up Twitter with all this stuff and all this content. Well, first of all, if I'm tweeting every hour, I don't have time to do the stuff I need to do. But don't. I've had to unfollow artists that I did like, but they just littered my feed with their stuff. And it looks mindless. Even if it's something you support, like I'm going to support this guy, I'm going to support what this person thinks, I'm going to support this project, but it's so frequent and if you're the only person I see scrolling down for lengths of time, I'm going to have to mute you, or I'm going to have to unfollow you because I want to see other people's stuff. So that's another thing too, is a way to look professional is to not spam. I'm kind of surprised that some entrepreneur, I've heard, his name is Grant Cardone. I think he's lighting up on Twitter since he published that book. But he's like, you got to be tweeting every minute. And he has a team to do that. But yeah, it's nice to have your art ubiquitous. But you yourself, like you as a person, you don't need to be on everyone's mind. That being ubiquitous is actually probably not a good thing psychologically for you or for others. So don't spam. What did I write down here? Oh, yes. So be professional on anything you put out there. Don't ingratiate yourself to people you support and admire with comments or obsessive retweets. So I already fronted that with my previous idea. But yeah, don't spam. Like even if you want to show someone how much of a fan you are of them, if you're constantly ingratiating yourself, that's what it looks like. As well-meaning as you can be, that's what it looks like. So be modest and be really thoughtful and really intentional with how you are conducting yourself on social media, what you are putting out. And I would say your support will naturally come from your endorsements. So be professional with your endorsing artists or anyone you admire. But your support will naturally come from that. And lastly, how do we do this with marketing? Well, I said, first of all, okay. I saw a light flicker, so I didn't know if my stream went down. I'm in front of my notes right now. So I ask how do we do this? How do we market ourselves? Prolific creation, professional endorsements, and collaborations. This is really short. I would say with collaborations, really start out with collaborations, that you think work. Collaborations, in my experience as a composer, with other independent artists, I'm not talking about people with their own companies or things like that. I'm more than happy to try out collaborating with professionals who actually have their own companies or have their own, you know, game developer insignia, people who actually professionally produce. Collaboration with independent artists has been a tricky one for me. I would say if you're starting out and people reach out to you, say, "Hey, I would like to collaborate with you," then yeah, start out and find ways to get your name out there. That's a really good idea. But I would just say, with a word of caution, I have run into some disappointment with some collaborations with independent artists. This might be a separate video, but I did have a recent email sent to me that just really put me in a tizzy for probably a good hour. And it really it helped me decide I cannot put myself in that position anymore. Nothing harmful. I'm not in any danger. It sounded too serious. It's actually not. But it really, it made me realize that some people, artistically speaking, might agree with you, but in the way of doing business, don't agree with you at all. So be careful, understand what you want out of a collaboration and work from there. But some collaborations can actually end up in disappointment, as it had been with me on with a previous artist, or he's still working, but an artist that I respect his music, but it's like, oh man, I can't do that anymore. So that might be a separate video. I don't think I have time to go over it tonight, but yeah. So yes. Now, lastly, the question is, why do independent artists struggle with marketing? I would say the first pretty easy, quick answer is low self-esteem. But the way to fix it is constant practice and output. But I think there's a separate reason. I think there's an additional reason that I think is philosophical and I think cuts deeper in the public conscious. And that is, artists, not all artists, I'm not, painting all artists with the same brush. I hope I said that phrase correctly, because I can't think of the phrase right now. Artists, generally, in my experience, artists have had an unhealthy perspective when it comes to making money. I actually had this recently with a couple of people that I worked with, where they would say, "Well, it's never about making money. It's not about making money." And these same people, not one of them, but I know one who he'll say that, and then it's like this eager, "Hey, are people biting? Are they how's this looking?" I was like, wait a second, you just told me that it's not about making money. This is another topic, probably. This is another stream. But it's like, there's this kind of idea that making money is a greedy thing. Artists, they kind of give making money a wide berth, like it's like taboo, like it's a really bad thing. Academics, this is true with academics too. Academics and artists of eclectic and experimental art, they have this almost antipathy toward making money. They don't like the idea of the profit motive. They don't like that profit is attached to their art. But I would say, again, speaking from observation and experience, this is really counterproductive to believe this. I've said this probably more than once, and I will keep saying it. Profit is only predicated on the value you give to the person spending the money on your art. That's all that profit is. As an independent artist, you should not feel any way guilty accepting money from someone who wants to support you. I don't understand why artists in particular, are so uncomfortable with money. But I would say that is that could be the reason why independent artists, really composers of this kind of eclectic music, this eclectic electronic music, I think this is why they struggle with marketing. I just want to encourage artists who do struggle with making a profit on their art. Just remember that no one, at least in this free market, can we keep it free, please? Or free market, please. No one is obliged to buy your art or your music if they don't like it. No one's obliged to support you if they don't like your art. That's the beauty of it. So when they do buy your art, that's a stamp of approval. You know, they're paying you because they love your art. And if you think about what artist doesn't want that? If you're an artist, don't you want your art to be loved? So what's the difference between your art being loved and then just having a monetary token of appreciation? It's the same thing, but with a perk. That's all. And so I, as an independent artist in eclectic electronic music, say profit is fine. Profit is fine. If it's any encouragement, you're probably not going to make a living off of your music anyway, unless there's like some stroke of luck. I mean, even with all the time and effort and dedication and production and all of that, you know, huge success, you know, when it comes to making a lot of money, huge success does depend on a stroke of luck as well. Gotta take a bit of water first. I think independent artists can be encouraged that they can make that they can make money off of their art, but it's not going to be like it's not going to be six figures unless it's a stroke of luck. And I say that just totally content with that idea. So I mean, don't worry about getting famous and greedy. Just if someone wants to give you their token of appreciation, then that's fine. You've provided a service. You've provided a service. So, as a recap, where artists go wrong with marketing, just not really considering prolific creation. And by prolific creation, I mean producing art professionally. And if you're not a professional yet, you know, building those avenues and getting an audience as you are producing professionally. You know, start building your audience to get that art out there. And also being selective about your endorsing artists and who you follow and what kind of content you put out there or what kind of text or sentiments you put out there. Just proceed with caution. And why artists do struggle with marketing is, I would say, it could be low self-esteem, but again, practice, that constant practice and output of art will really kind of nip that low self-esteem in the bud. And also just have a healthier perspective on money and making a living doing your art. Can you imagine making a living doing the art you love? That's pretty cool. That's such a cool idea. That's such a cool idea. So that's all I have. I that's more or less a condensed version of probably many more things, many more factors, but I will kind of bounce around ideas from the chat. And I'll try to get through the chat a little bit quickly because my throat is kind of tight. Hopefully that will go away, but I definitely can imagine ending the stream right at the 2-hour mark. So it's a little over an hour. I've got a little hair in my face. So I see Melissa Harris is in, but let's go back up to the chat. Oh, it's Shot Down in Flames as well. I think a couple new people, maybe. Okay, we will roll down the chat now. Oh man, he's already given me a good idea. Okay, so I know you can see the comment probably. There, okay. Sonograver, you really need to do occasional violin videos, just maybe a 3 to 5 minute piece, any style. That Easter video was fantastic, and your subs will go way up. Thank you for that recommendation. One thing I really, really, really need to do I can perform. I tend with popular stuff. I tend to get copyright strikes. I got a copyright strike for a hymn. I got a copyright strike for. I actually got, this kind of sounds bad publicly, but I actually got a copyright strike on my own music. In fairness, they had exclusive rights to my music, and it's a video of me working out this piece of music as a work in progress, and I got dinged for it. So it's a little hairy when it comes to that. But one thing I need to do is continue to do live signal processing and maybe MIDI scores with SuperCollider. I have like two. I definitely have one. I have one piece I could probably put together and do a nice video on. Sometimes it takes troubleshooting with audio. I also don't have the best mic. That's kind of what's holding me back. But yes, you like that video, it looks like. So yeah, the violin's going to be a huge part of my channel going forward as well. Oh, it actually will. Definitely will. And actually, yeah, I don't know how long this will take, but the Prof and I we'll be doing some cover stuff. My hair is just like sticking at the back of my neck. It's gross. So cover stuff. He plays bass, and I play violin. So that will be probably into the next year, because I'd like to do arrangements with bass and violin. It'd be nice to do. I would love to do bass, violin, and electronics. That would be sweet. I also actually, one reason why I just have been feeling not discouraged, but a little cautious about playing violin for my YouTube is I've got this crack on my violin. It's like the size of a toothpick, and it hasn't worsened since it's been there, and it's been there for a while. I actually got it fixed a couple of years ago, and it came back. It was an expensive transaction, and it's like there's stuff I just want to do, and I need to invest in another fiddle and another cheap bow, because I really shouldn't be playing on this violin, to be honest. But I do thank you for that recommendation. I think that's important. Keeping the violin there is very important. So another reason why, actually, you know what? I will actually definitely produce a lot more violin videos in my new arrangement this fall, because I've always been that apartment dweller that really wants to respect her neighbors, and my violin's loud and these walls are thin. So the walls are thin where you can hear every sort of outside noise happening, like cars, motorcycles, people talking and stuff like that. But then late at night, it's just bothering my neighbors, you know. So I try to be really respectful. But yes, Shot Down in Flames is coming. It's definitely coming. Samuel Proctor says, I love the colonial era. Yeah, I'll pick up some folk stuff and colonial stuff. Yes. I don't know who Davey 504 is. Probably look it up at the end of the stream. Bless you, sound. Oh, is that from sneezing? Yeah, it never came. Never came. Samuel Proctor says, sounds like just free marketing without the artist even asking for it. Yeah, it's weird. It's this kind of entitlement. Like, well, I'm a poor broke independent artist, and you're a poor broke independent artist, so therefore we should support each other and share our stuff. It's like, it's kind of a chore if you think about it. Whereas the stuff I endorse, I'm excited to share. Schooner Tuna is in the house. A friend of mine, a novelist, made the first chapter of his book available to read online, posted an audio of the first chapter, released an illustration of it, and would promote his work on stream. See, that's the thing to do. That is the thing to do. That's a very good creative idea. And it will get people curious if it's well written. Horizon Talker says, all artists must support each other is a weird class warfare thing. It makes it sound like all art is something I want to promote, which is categorically untrue. Yeah, I mean, it's like, I could see this be the case with like a restaurant owner, or maybe like a culinary artist or a connoisseur, where they'll support and endorse, maybe even monetarily endorse, businesses like certain restaurants they like, certain styles and aesthetics and culinary experiences that they like. But it would be just too much of a hassle. Like, can you imagine a connoisseur of some kind, wine, or let's say culinary artists, like someone who's specialized in food, in fine food, and fine wine, and the pairing of the two, and they've got maybe, let's say they have 8 restaurants they highly endorse. Like, you have to check this out. Yes, it's pricey, but the experience is just so good. Can you imagine people saying, well, you're that connoisseur, you need to check out these other restaurants and support them? Well, maybe that person would, but maybe they don't want to support them. Maybe the experience isn't quite there. Maybe they don't care for the aesthetics of the experience. Whatever the case is. But if, let's say, a high-ranking, top dog connoisseur started promoting every restaurant, well, then his endorsement is rendered worthless, because you can't trust so many endorsements of so many people. You really have to understand that being selective actually is really giving the value to those people you're endorsing. So if I started endorsing every artist on the block, no one can take my critique or my support seriously. And I take my music very seriously. And I take my analyses of music seriously. And I take art in general very seriously. So I want people to know, again, I'm no big shot, but it's like, I want people to know that my supporting that artist means, oh, you did something. You did something with this album I can't experience in any place else. Thank you. Thank you for this experience. And it's fun. It's fun to share. All right. I might have to stop for a restroom break if we go too long. But we'll see. Yeah, and that's true of just businesses in general. Don't support businesses you don't know about just because other people say you got to do this, you got to support this. It's like, no, I want to be truthful in what I say. And certainly don't support something you don't think earns that support either. Dr. Y says, artist Jake Parker, I just feel like I'm so far away from the microphone. I hope I'm okay. Artist Jake Parker made a 44-minute long video on making products, not projects. Yeah, when I say project, yeah, I guess project, that word means more of a work in progress. It does have that impression. Product is the finished project. I kind of use those words interchangeably. But yeah, I mean, I say Logic Pro project, so that's important to make that distinction, honestly. Zootopia says, I'm a great entertainer. So many people look at me and laugh. Well, that means they like you. That's a good reaction to have. Wolf10 says, Sound great. We're saving the kaiju talk for when I have enough kaiju fans. Can't be having a third and fourth wheels on my streams. No. Actually, no. That's actually not true. You create the kaiju fan audience. When I first started doing SuperCollider videos, no one was watching. When I was doing Logic Pro videos, no one was watching. I mean, like some stragglers. They're like, oh, who's this? The audience came when they saw, oh, she's doing this consistently. I should have kind of done a timeline on okay, wait a second. I got my first 100 subscribers 4 months after I started the YouTube thing. I posted a video every week. And I had a microphone and I started talking. Well, some of you guys already talk too, but people hearing your voice is really important. But no, you can't do that. You can't save the talk until you have the audience. You actually have to make the audience. That's how YouTube works. You make the audience. It's like you can't stall your channel. And I'm saying this before I kind of go on a streaming sabbatical, but you can't stall your channel by saying, "Oh, well, I'll start doing these videos when the interest is there." No, you got to actually create the interest. That's the way the world of YouTube works. Dr. Y says, funny you should mention kaiju. I like saying that. Kaiju. My most popular videos are my Lego Godzilla videos. Yeah, that's right. I need to get back into doing those. Yeah, I mean, you guys have an audience. Like it blows my mind how much potential some of you guys have for your channels. I'm not gonna. Christians shouldn't struggle with jealousy. But if something happens where, you talk about kaiju or anime and your channel just blows up, yeah, I'll be sad that you'll have like 100 times more subscribers than I have, but I'll be happy for you too. For something that's very niche in what I work with, I don't mind the steady incline. Let's see. I think the grind for exposure is a big downside of the attention economy. I think it's a big part of why no one reads books anymore. You can't crank out a book every 2 months. But there are ways around that. I'm a proponent, huge advocate of short fiction. Now, I would say short fiction works in genres better than other genres. I would say science fiction is pretty much a go-to for short fiction. But also, I don't know. I mean, I think there's a way to work around that. But whatever the case is, the idea is to have many, just know that this could take many years, but by the time it's the end of many years, you would have a library, like a repertoire of stuff. It's pretty cool. Pretty cool to think about. And there's Melissa. Wolftan says, I try to steer in the direction of the positive on my channel while still talking about issues in the media while encouraging others to grind and do their own thing. That's important. Yeah, that's also important. My Twitter is specific to my art. Yes, that's very important. So I try to try to make sure that my art is up to date. Oh, by the way, Samuel, I don't have Twitter in general. I'm saying, I would say this just, the stuff that I talked about really can apply to the different social media. Thank you. Painting with a wide brush. I was thinking blanket, sweep, wide. I was thinking wide brush. Thank you. Yeah, I'm agreeing with Horizon Talker. Probably concerning Twitter, it's a very marketable tool if you can master it. And by mastering it is really just, you gotta, you really do have to be incredibly selective. Almost to a certain, and I will say this word carefully, almost to a certain prejudice. I know that's bad. It's a bad word, but, well, not that bad, but you really have to be so intentional, so laser focused. Twitter and a business All right. Am I back? I think I was a little spotty there. Did you guys hear me okay? All right. So yeah, internet is spotty. That's okay. Oh, indeed. All right. Where was I? Yeah, talking about Twitter or just really any social media in general is, all these things I say is if you want to apply like a business and use that platform as a business. For things like hang out with relatives or old college friends, no. It doesn't apply to that. All right. Horizon Talker says, I think part of the hesitation with the profit motives is artists want their art to be free from outside influences. They want it theirs. They feel they lose part of it when they sell it. That is just a bunch of ego. Then I know. I'm going to be so. Let's bring that comment up again. The hesitation comes from, and this is again a general idea. It's not true with all artists, but they want to be free from outside influences. They want it theirs, and they feel they lose a part of it when they sell it. I don't understand why. I was about to say that, and I'm thinking something else. Yes, you do. Your art does lose a part of yourself in that you cannot control what other people think about your art. People who purchase and support your art, you could be. I've experienced this with my music. It's like, I hate what I did with that bass. Like when some certain piece of instrumentation in a track on one of my albums just drives me nuts, and people say, that's my favorite track, I love it. I'm like, don't you think, I've used this example before, but I'm like, don't you think the bass is kind of protrudes a little too much? It's like, it's like, that bass. I like the bass line, but the bass amplitude, just something is off. And that's my most popular track on Spotify. that's people's favorite track on that Sunkissed album. I'm talking about Trinkets. It's a great little track, but that bass kind of like, I wish we nailed that a little bit better. But okay. Well, I think that about my bass in that track on that album, but some people would love that bass. I've heard even one artist said, that bass sounds so sweet on my speakers. I'm like, really? So he'll think of something completely different from how I think of something, meaning part of me is removed from my own art. I find that fascinating, actually. I find that cool. It's necessary. It's necessary. This idea of like total dominance, total control in your art. Like, you need to think about this about my art. Like, no, your art is out there for people to interpret in their own way. And that's not to say art is subjective. No. Your interpretation of the art is subjective. The art remains as it is, good or bad. But yeah, that, and also you said, they feel they lose a part of it when they sell it. Well, you know what? You'll feel like you'll have it back when someone purchases your music. I do anyway. Like, it's like, to me, it's like, you liked my music enough to buy it. That's the coolest thing ever. It's really cool. And again, I've expressed this many times. I will produce music for the rest of my life without making a dime because I love it so much. But if someone wants to reward me with some money, that's awesome too. That is awesome too. It's technically and egotistically true. You got to lose some ego when you sell your art. And I think that's good for the individual anyway. Yeah, that could be true. Politically speaking, it could be two things: the art snob, or the anti-capitalist who say not to sell your art. Yeah. Well, I'm saying, okay, yeah, like if you're of that mindset, then don't sell your art. No. See, but I've seen artists who have that sentiment, and their stuff is out on Bandcamp to, for purchase. So I don't mind that you don't sell your art if you have that mindset and that perspective, but yeah. That's but normal people, normal artists, I mean not normal, you know what I mean, but it's like come on artists, you can be okay with selling that. Reconciling your artistic creative endeavor and also having it be transactional. Having it be transactional. Is 504 is okay. Talk about I'm sure it's a world famous person or band, and it's not ringing a bell. Yeah, I think I'm gonna look it up. I think I'm gonna look it up. David Bial? Is that his? Oh, wait a second. Wait a second. He's YouTube, isn't he? Oh yeah, yeah. I've seen his videos. Yeah. There's a British bassist who's pretty funny. He's so good on the bass. Oh my goodness. Yeah, there are some bass YouTube channels that are pretty out there. There's a British one, a British bassist, and I would recognize his channel name if I saw it, but it's not coming to me. But he's very good. He's done pretty hefty covers. He's actually I think he's done a bass transcription of Paganini's Violin Caprice, the 24 Caprice pieces. Number 24, I think, is what he did the last one. So. Okay, I think I feel like I've skipped a lot of chat, but maybe I haven't. And if I've caught up with chat, then we'll just wrap it up because I think that would be a good time to wrap it up. You can't crank out a book every 2 months. Stephen King has entered the chat with boss music. Well, no, that's not true. I think you can. Well, yeah, you can. Nora, what's her name? Nora Roberts, the romance novelist. She does a book every 2 months, but I'm not saying it's good. I don't read that stuff, so I can't make an objective assessment. But you can do short stuff. Like you could write, if you were comfortable, if you were at that speed to do 2,000 words a day, 5-6 days a week, that's like a $50,000 50,000 word. Yeah. About give it 10,000 words a week, maybe 12,000. You can have almost up to 50,000 word books, every month, and then chop it up and sell it. So that's yeah. Oh yes, actually, I will be playing more NES games, Melissa. One thing I really want to do, and I would do an analysis, and I'm definitely in the future, probably a few years down the future, because I feel like this would take a long time, and I'm ready. I'm ready to invest that kind of time. I'd really like to do cover music and analysis of Dragon Spirit. Great 8-bit soundtrack. I mean, just phenomenal music of what they did at that time. So, and to be honest, I feel kind of bad. I should know the composer, but I'm not gonna. Maybe I should look it up. Yeah, I should look it up. NES, Dragon Spirit, very great 8-bit music. Let's see, composed. Where's the composer? Shinji Hosoi. Oh, that's not it though. Oh yes, that is it. Yeah, that's definitely it. Shinji Hosoi. So let's see if I can type it. Yeah, great stuff. Great stuff. And so I'd like to do analysis. So, you know, I'll get into the NES games as well. But I kind of want to just do the SNES library. Like really, I could spend the rest of my life on these games, man, because there's so many. There are so many. Oh, thank you. Thank you for that recommendation. And it's Green Lion Girl. Definitely catching the rewatch. I might be in the retail by trade, but selling my own work is very hard. Yeah, there are just more. So Green Lion Girl, I was kind of explaining, you know, what I've been seeing an independent artists do. So I just wanted to talk about that. And actually, if I know there were some interruptions, I might even do a condensed version of this video or this topic. I just feel like there are a few factors that I've missed. Green Lion Girl says, one of my coworkers told me that Nora Roberts has gotten to the point where she copies herself. Oh, yeah, I'm sure. I'm taking her word on that. Really, not really my interest. Who's this one famous, prolific Christian author? Oh, what's his name? I knew his name by heart a few years ago. But he's composed, or he's written, you know, what is his name? Oh, I think his last name is Maxwell. Let's see if his first name is John. I think that's what it is. John Maxwell, Christian author. Yeah, John C. Maxwell. Okay, John C. Maxwell. I've read one of his books, like when I was in the entrepreneur kick. I think it's called Failing Forward. Now, my sister, who's a very avid reader, she's read maybe 2 or 3 of his books, including that one. And she said she kind of did a little bit of research on this guy. He's written over I think 100 books. Well, he actually, the way he writes is more bullet point based, and he's actually pretty much taken material of previous books and slammed it on other books and like dressed it up a little bit. Now, I would caution against that kind of prolific creation because you don't want to just repeat yourself in that way. You have to, when I say prolific creation, you have to produce variations of your stuff, sure, but definitely original stuff. And don't copy and paste your books. Don't do that. So now I do think though, I'm serious when I say I think a writer can produce a 40,000 to 50,000 word book a month. If they can write 2,000 to 3,000 words a day, they can do that. Now, who's got the time? Well, you gotta. It's not just making time for that. It's not just making time for your writing. You gotta practice getting faster. You know, part of the beauty of practicing is you get better faster. You really do. And it's actually been a while since I've written my space opera, but I edit now, and I was getting really comfortable to doing 1,000 words in one sitting. All right, so let's actually end here. So just kind of a recap. This is my second to the last stream. My last stream will be Memorial Day for pretty much the whole summer and probably getting into October. So I definitely guarantee this to you guys. Because I love it so much. I'm doing it really just for my own personal enjoyment as well. Not just for business. I just love doing it as well. I will get back into streaming October. So October, when things are finally settled, I'll get back into streaming. I might have a stream here or there in the summer if I have a topic, if there's something worth talking about. But just kind of be in the know that Memorial Day will be my last Monday Night Muse for a bit. And we'll see in October what day is available to me. I would love it to be Monday nights, but it might be something else too. I'm not sure. Because I'm kind of changing careers as well. So it's a lot of change. It's a lot of change. Big Al knows what I'm talking about. So a lot of change happening this summer, all for the good, all for the better. And I'm really, really excited. And just be on the lookout for always sound sound experimentation videos. I still will be producing albums to the best of my ability. Got to get this 4-track album out soon. I meant to get it out April and then May, and then it's May 24th now. So it's going to be June. It's got to be June because I need to work on my next project, my next album. So thank you, Melissa. Thank you so much. So one more stream with me and more sound experimentation videos, Super Nintendo soundtrack series, some probably random commentary on popular art, Star Wars, maybe the artistic experience. I might have some separate videos on that, some hero theme. So just be on the lookout for some different choices, like a buffet of contemporary content. So be in the know of everyone else's streaming for this week. Check out the Professor Geek Facebook group page. And also just check out anything happening with the prof. See, Professor Geek, right there, right there. That's the name. That's the name. Be on the lookout for some things going on with his Professor Geek channel, like he's trying to finish the gaming streams and finishing up the KOTOR story. And then also, I think a possible guest on Wednesday night for his heroic inspirations. All right, guys. I think that's everything. So always thank you guys for joining in the chat. And, until I see you next, keep producing the art you love, preserving the art you love, and I'll catch you later. Thanks again.